The news from Guyana, the region and the world. Compiled in the News Talk Radio newsroom and powered by DemeraraWaves.com.
Was the news at 6? I'm Dennis Chabral. Good evening. First, the highlights. The High Court is being asked to quash the Natural Resource Fund legislation. Residents of Kokwani no longer have to travel to Berbice to seek justice. Regionally, Trinidad and Tobago is being told to prepare for drier days ahead. And a large number of Guyanese are among those who have been granted immigration amnesty in Antigua and Barbuda. The news comes to you with the compliments of Kentucky Fried Chicken, KFC. The details in a moment.
Hate to stand in lines? Don't worry. KFC has got you covered with their drive-thrus, which are open now from 9 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. at Movietown, Vlissingen Road, Mandela Avenue, Reading Hoop, Parika, and the Amazonia Mall. That's right, you can drive through at 6 of their 9 locations. Remember, their current opening hours are 9 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. Go on down and let your taste buds savor the spices today. KFC.
It's finger-licking good.
And now the news in detail. Opposition of Partnership for National Unity plus Alliance for Change Chief Whip Christopher Jones and trade unionist Norris Witter are challenging the constitutionality of the Natural Resource Fund Act. They want the High Court to quash that legislation since they believe it was not properly passed by the National Assembly due to the absence of the Speaker's mace and a lack of consultation. The High Court is being asked to order that the Natural Resource Fund Act 2021, subsequent orders and regulations, all actions taken by anyone, including the Minister of Finance, and the constitution of the makeup of the Natural Resource Fund Board are all null and void and to be of no force and effect. Messrs. Jones and Witter are seeking a High Court declaration that the executive's failure to constitute the Constitutional Human Rights Commission violates the Constitution, and so the Attorney General must be directed to set up such a body. Another order being sought is for the NRF to be replenished of any monies taken out of the fund. The applicants say neither they nor other stakeholders have been consulted before the bill was tabled in the Assembly, and thus violates Article 13 of Guyana's Constitution and the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights to which Guyana is a party. Several APNU AFC parliamentarians had disrupted the proceedings of the National Assembly by blowing whistles, pacing around the chamber, dragging the mace and taking it outside, and allegedly disconnecting the internet and audio connections while the finance minister had been speaking on the bill. The finance minister had been encircled by government parliamentarians during his presentation. APNU AFC parliamentarians had later APNU AFC parliamentarian Annette Ferguson had later admitted to removing the mace because she had been fed up that calls for a consultation about the bill had been ignored. Governance and Parliamentary Affairs Minister Gail Teixeira then put the bill to a vote, and it was passed by a simple majority. House Speaker Manzu Nadir had later told reporters that a replica mace had been used and that the bill had been properly passed by the House. ExxonMobil will spend $10 billion in developing the Yellowtail oil discovery offshore Guyana over the next 3 years. Monday's announcement came just days after the Environmental Protection Agency granted a permit and the Ministry of Natural Resources issued a license both for Yellowtail. President of ExxonMobil Guyana, Alistair Routledge, says Yellowtail is expected to begin commercial oil production in 2025.
This fourth project in the Stabroek Block is expected to produce approximately 250,000 barrels of oil per day starting in 2025, increasing our total capacity to approximately 800,000 barrels per day.
Mr. Routledge says Yellowtail has almost 1 billion barrels of oil equivalent to be extracted.
Production from the One Guyana Floating Production, Storage and Offloading Vessel, or FPSO, will target an estimated resource base of more than 900 million barrels of oil. The project will include 6 drill centers and up to 26 production and 25 injection wells.
That's ExxonMobil Guyana's President Alistair Routledge. The University of Guyana is training trainers of the Guyana Police Force as part of a strategy to retool the police academy. Through UG Center of Excellence for Teaching and Learning, 75 police training officers have been equipped with the required skills. Instructional delivery topics included instructional strategies, policing in a culturally diverse background in a Guyanese setting, reflexive praxis, Bloom's taxonomy, and teaching adult learners, among other things. The course consists of 3 levels, and this is the beginner's level. UG says participants for this course were selected by the Guyana Police Force based on the tertiary institution's criteria. The trainers course began in March 2 and ran for 2 weeks. The course consisted of 13 modules. Each module provided trainers with a range of knowledge, skills, and competencies related to instructional design, instructional delivery, and assessment, both face-to-face and online. UG says the course aimed to increase the teaching repertoire and to build the teaching capacity of the Guyana Police Force trainers. They were provided with strategies, concepts, knowledge, and skills that they can implement in the classroom. The General Workers Union, GW, says it is mobilizing solidarity from other trade unions and civil society organizations to pressure the government into agreeing to increase the minimum wage. Back in 2019, the tripartite committee under the APNU-AFC government had decided that the minimum wage will increase from $40,400 to $60,000. After the PPP took office in August 2020, Labour Minister Joseph Hamilton had supported the increase, but Cabinet was yet to give its approval. President of the GW, Lawrence Witter, says other stakeholders are being asked to join in the struggle for the increase in the minimum wage.
This is an opportunity for us to separate the sheep from the goat. We will know who are the true labor leaders and who are the ones who are pretending and parading, right, to be labor leaders. We did not directly invite any union. We made at our initial protest on last Friday, we made a public call, right? But we will go beyond that. We are going to write to each individual unions by midweek. You understand? Set out very clearly, right, what our intention is and invite them to join us in solidarity.
The Guyana Trades Union Congress, Clerical and Commercial Workers Union, and the General Workers Union have so far endorsed the decision to pressure the government to increase the minimum wage. Residents of Kokwanian Region 10 no longer have to travel to Berbice to seek justice. The community of about 4,000 residents now have a court. The more than $37 million Guyana dollar court was officially declared open last week. Chancellor of the Judiciary, Justice Donald Cummings Edwards, says while everyone at Kokwani knows each other, the law is broken at times, and so the court will help to uphold the rule of law. The Kokwani court will sit twice per month. Turning to news out from the region, farmers and other residents in Trinidad and Tobago are being urged to conserve on water because drier days are coming. Trinidad and Tobago's Newsday reports that the Meteorological Service has predicted drier than average conditions in April. The Met Service also says near average rainfall and above average temperatures during the next 3 months are predicted. The country can expect mostly dry conditions from April 15 to 21 and 22 to 28. The Met Office declared the start of the dry season on January 6. Trinidad and Tobago's chief climatologist, Kenneth Kerr, had predicted a drier than usually dry season, with February being the driest month of 2022. He said April was expected to be the driest period of the season, with a few relatively chilly nights when temperatures were expected to fall below 20 degrees. In a rainfall and a temperature outlook update on Monday, the Met Office said there is a possibility of near-average rainfall between April and June. The period of excessive heat buildup in the coming months will likely put a strain on water and power utilities and health services. The high temperatures may also set back the improvements made at the Water and Sewage Authority in Trinidad and Tobago's reservoirs from the rainfall of February and March. From its predictions, the Met Office has asked the public to conserve water, be aware of agricultural pest and disease control measures and bushfire risk, and to revisit operational and contingency plans to manage dust, smoke-related respiratory ailments. From early July into August and September, the outlook is for below normal rainfall across the country. The Bahamas' Deputy Prime Minister Chester Cooper says the age of consent should be raised to 18 to further protect minors. His comment came after the Minister of Social Services and Development, Obi Wilcombe, said that the Office of the Attorney General was looking to address inconsistencies in the age of consent. Mr. Cooper explains that this will further protect minors and make clear that children who cannot drink alcohol, join law enforcement, open a bank account, stand before a court as an adult or vote, for example, cannot reasonably consent to sex with an adult. This comes after a 40-year-old man was given a 4-year sentence in a plea deal for unlawful sexual intercourse with a 14-year-old girl who was also pregnant. After the man completes his prison term, he'll be on probation for 3 years. The sentence prompted outcry from some people that it was too lenient. However, the Bahamas' National Security Minister Wayne Munro has suggested that the sentence was too severe, telling reporters that had he defended the man, he would have argued it was not rape and that a girl consented. The statement led to a backlash and calls for Mr. Munro's resignation. Guyanese are among the estimated 2,000 persons who have been granted an immigration amnesty in Antigua and Barbuda. Syrians, nationals of the Dominican Republic, and the Jamaicans are also among those who can now apply for residency or citizenship of Antigua and Barbuda. On March 1, immigrants who have settled in Antigua and Barbuda over the years were given 2 months within which to regularize their immigration status without penalty for living in the country illegally. The Immigration Department began processing scores of applications a day, with those granted amnesty now able to move along to obtain citizenship or residency. Antigua Newsroom reports that according to Chief Immigration Officer Katrina Yearwood, successful applicants will be given amnesty certificates. She says the department has already booked up for the rest of the amnesty period, which ends on April 30, unless the government decides to grant an extension. The immigration boss went on to rebuff the notion among some that the amnesty initiative is a trap. Last month, the government said there were no current plans to extend the amnesty period, despite the fact that the Immigration Department continues to be inundated with inquiries from prospective applicants. The government previously announced that numbered application forms will be available for collection at the Immigration Department and at the various consulates in Antigua. And now we go to the BBC World News for the latest bulletin of international news.
Hello, I'm Moira Alderson with the BBC News. President Biden has led international condemnation as more evidence emerges of alleged atrocities committed by Russian forces in Ukraine. He called for President Vladimir Putin to be tried for war crimes. He said what had happened in the town of Bucha outside Kiev was outrageous. Nomia Iqbal reports from Washington.
President Biden has once again labelled Russia's President Vladimir Putin a war criminal. When he said it last month, he was accused by the Kremlin of escalating the conflict. But Mr. Biden referred to these recent atrocities in Bucha as proof he was right in making that assessment. He went on to say that details have to be gathered for a war crimes trial. The US says it's supporting a team of international prosecutors who are going to the region to collect and analyse evidence at the request of Ukrainian officials. The State Department says it's to pursue criminal accountability against Russia.
Moscow's ambassador to the UN says Russia will present empirical evidence to the UN Security Council, demonstrating that Western statements on events at Bucha are lies. At a press conference in New York, Vasily Nabiensia accused Ukraine of fabricating evidence and carrying out a false flag attack on its own people.
The video circulated by the Kiev regime is a crude forgery. It doesn't stand any scrutiny. However, some Western leaders, for example, German Federal Chancellor Olaf Scholz, French President Emmanuel Macron, and of course British Foreign Minister Liz Truss, have already lined up to promote this false narrative. What happened in Bucha is exactly a false flag attack by the Kiev regime and its Western sponsors.
He said he couldn't rule out that some civilians had been killed, referring to events in Ukraine as warfare. France and Germany are expelling Russian diplomats in response to the killings in Bucha. Berlin has announced that 40 envoys have been told to leave. Its foreign minister, Annalena Baerbock, condemned what she called the unbelievable brutality of the Kremlin's leadership. The French government did not specify the number of Russian staff it would expel. The United Nations Secretary-General has said governments and businesses are lying about their efforts to reduce climate change, accusing them of saying one thing and doing another. Antonio Guterres was launching the latest report from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which says not enough is being done to stop global warming from spinning out of control. Hélène de Koninck is one of the report's authors.
We have to change the systems, change how we work, how we live, how we feed ourselves, how our energy systems work, what kind of materials we use, what kind of stuff we're buying. And those kind of system transitions make it hard, but they also provide a lot of benefits. And we know increasingly well, and that's what the IPCC report is reporting on, how to do that, how to make these system transitions happen.
World News from the BBC. Nigeria's state rail company says nearly 170 people are still unaccounted for after gunmen attacked a train last Monday. At least 8 passengers were killed when armed men blew up a section of track between the capital Abuja and the northern city of Kaduna. It's not clear how many of the missing were kidnapped for ransom or went home without telling the authorities. South Africa has announced the ending of COVID restrictions 2 years after they were imposed. In a televised address, President Cyril Ramaphosa said the national state of disaster would end at midnight local time.
While the virus continues to circulate, it is not causing the same levels of severe illness that requires hospitalization or the same number of deaths. While the pandemic is not over and while the virus remains amongst us, these conditions no longer require that we remain in a national state of disaster.
Mr. Ramaphosa said it was important to boost the economy and create jobs. South Africa has recorded far more coronavirus cases than any other African country, accounting for almost a third of infections across the continent. It's officially registered over 100,000 deaths. Public protests have continued in parts of Sri Lanka against the government's handling of a deepening economic crisis. Hundreds of people in Colombo gathered outside the office of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to demand his resignation. Police fired tear gas to disperse demonstrators who tried to ransack the house of a governing party member of parliament. Spanish police have detained 30 people in an operation against a gang suspected of drug trafficking and money laundering. It involved more than 50 searches, mainly on the island of Mallorca, but also in the province of Tarragona. They've seized nearly 1.5 tons of hashish, a quantity of other drugs, and more than $180,000 in cash. That's the latest world news from the BBC.
And that's the news to the moment.
KFC delivery is now available from the Amazonia location. For shore-based Little Diamond residents, call 632-0533, 632-0533, 6080-162, 6080-162, or 503-3591, 503-3591. That's KFC's delivery service from the Amazonia location. KFC.
It's finger-licking good.
Now, in the news, a recap of the highlights. The High Court is being asked to quash the Natural Resource Fund legislation. Residents of Kokwani no longer have to travel to Berbice to seek justice. And regionally, Trinidad and Tobago is being told to prepare for drier days ahead. Also in the Caribbean, a large number of Guyanese are among those who have been granted immigration amnesty in Antigua and Barbuda. They can now apply for citizenship or residency. The news came to you with the compliments of Kentucky Fried Chicken.
This has been the news, compiled in the News Talk Radio newsroom. For ongoing updates, visit demerarawaves.com, and you can check facebook.com/demwaves and twitter.com/demwaves.
I'm Jessica Daw, and this is News Talk Radio Guyana 103.1 FM. Accurate information blended with great music.
Your time in Guyana, 18 hours 20.
For the toughest jobs, there's only one original motor oil, Valvoline, powering the world's heavy-duty engines in every corner of the